morning. It is Friday, June 26, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, ISIS militants have re-entered the key Syrian border city of Kobani 5 months after they were driven out in what was hailed as a victory for the U.S.-led coalition. As the deadline for Iran nuclear talks approaches, foreign ministers convene in Vienna for the last push of the negotiations. And later on the show, Glastonbury, the festival that draws millions, is coming up. Good morning, I'm Yael Avi, and today we will begin in Syria and ISIS. Fighting between ISIS and the Kurdish militia defending the city of Kobani has restarted, according to the UK-based monitoring group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. ISIS started the assault overnight with a suicide car bomb attack near the border crossing between the town, and Turkey. Hospital officials confirming the return to violence said that at least 12 people had been killed and around 70 wounded in the bomb attack and ensuing fighting. 2 other attacks were launched at roughly the same time as the Kobani offensive by ISIS, one in the northern city of Hasakah, also a very prominent and important city in the battle that is Syria. We're joined in studio by I-24 News Middle East analyst Ali Waqid. Ali, good morning to you. Before we break this down and what is exactly the advance of the group, let's take a look at the following report.
Fighting rages across multiple fronts in the Syrian civil war and involves a multitude of factions. Islamic State terrorists launched assaults on 2 cities in northern Syria, Kobani on the border with Turkey and Hasakah further to the east. The attack on Kobani, which was liberated from IS forces in January by Kurdish fighters, began with a car bomb, before a group of 15 IS terrorists reportedly entered the town in 5 vehicles, deceptively flying a Free Syrian Army flag. They opened fire on the residents, killing at least 35 people and injuring dozens more. Kurdish forces present reportedly killed 15 IS militants. In Hasakah, Islamic State jihadists clashed with the Syrian army. Parts of Hasakah represent the only remaining regime stronghold in northeastern Syria.
There have been intense clashes between the Syrian military, supported by national defense units, against Islamic State terrorists in this district of al-Nashwa in Hasakah. This comes as Islamic State terrorists entered from Turkey into Kobani, and there have been reports of civilian casualties after a car explosion.
The violence near the border has had ramifications on Syria's northern neighbor, Turkey.
So far, 63 wounded were brought to our country. 2 of them, one of them a child, died in Turkey. Claims that the Islamic State terrorist group militants crossed into Kobani from Turkey are just lies. We strongly deny that.
The attacks by IS follow recent gains by Kurdish fighters against the group, with the Kurds advancing to within 50 kilometers from the Islamic State's de facto capital of Raqqa. It is not the first time IS has attempted to reverse negative momentum by launching separate attacks elsewhere. To the south, the Assad regime is under further pressure from other rebels. An alliance of rebel groups calling itself the Southern Front began an assault Thursday on the city of Dara, near the border with Jordan.
We announced from this war room the beginning of Operation Southern Storm, a storm that will root out all of the criminals from this area.
While this alliance has presented itself as having a secular outlook, there appears to be at least informal cooperation between it and the jihadist fighters of the Nusra Front, the Syrian wing of al-Qaeda, which is also actively fighting the Assad regime. Should Dara fall to rebel forces, it will be the 3rd provincial capital to do so.
Ali Waqid, before we touch on the colossal mess of amount of groups who are fighting in Syria right now, as per that report, Kobani, we spent months in the media talking about the assault, getting ISIS out of Kobani. 5 months later, they're back in. How?
Well, the very great majority of Kobani is still under the control of the Kurdish forces. Only small parts of the city were infiltrated by the Islamic State. I think that the Islamic State, because of the advance of the Kurdish forces in the province of Raqqa, need a success story both on the military level but also on the morally level. On the militarily level, Kobani is close to the Turkish borders. By the way, there are reports that the fighters of the Islamic State infiltrated the city from the Turkish borders, and with the support of the Turkish forces, which raised once again the question about the role of the Turkish forces, in spite of the Turkish results, in spite of the fact that the Turkish opposition that marked important success in the last elections, hostility to the collaboration cooperation and coordination between Erdogan forces and the Islamic State. But we should not exaggerate. It is not dramatic yet, at least, and the city is under control of the Kurdish forces. But it was a very clear message of the Islamic State that, in spite of what the world sees as defeats of the Islamic State on the ground, they are still capable to launch offensives. They are still capable to embarrass both the local forces, Kurdish in this case, and the international coalition that was so proud the last days to PR itself, saying that
we're pushing them out of Raqqa, we're pushing them out of there. Interesting, because if this truly is propaganda, it goes hand in hand with parallel to the advances and wins and possible losses of ISIS this week on the ground. ISIS also released several more propaganda videos to showcase what one can only describe as their macabre modus operandi. And let's have a look at what ISIS brought out, as a video this week. Let's have a look.
جيوش الفتح قد وثبت وهذا جواد العز من يلوي لجامه زمر قد توشح للمعارك ورايات الجهاد مضت امامه جيوش الفتح قد وثبت وهذا جواد العز من يلوي لجامه كتائبنا تجوب الارض حربا تهز الكون تتبعه حطامه فاخبر خصمنا انا عبات ضربنا من.
We're also joined by Quilliam researcher from London, Charlie Winter, who has been studying the group's movement both online and on the map. Charlie, gleaning from the videos that were released this week, that's the tame version, obviously. There was also ISIS fighters drowning victims, drowning people. There was them shooting later on within the cage. What does that show? They're winning, they're losing. Is this all propaganda? Does this go hand in hand with what Ali just said, that this minute little entrance back into Kobani is part of their attempt to try and show that they're not actually losing, as the world media is reporting?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of this is diversionary. So I think that the attack in Raqqa and Hasaka and the slight incursion into Qamishli was all diversionary, and I think that that's the same with these videos. But also they play another role as something of a security role, showing dissenters or spies, quote unquote, being killed in the most horrible ways is a way of exercising a very tight hold over the current followers of Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. That it really wants to give out a binary choice to people who live within its territories, that either they operate under Islamic State's rules, they follow it, they support it, or they get killed in the most horrible way. And of course, on top of that, there's the propaganda value of these videos being repeated in the West.
Obviously.
With international news outlets, which there's been a lot of, I'm sad to say.
Yes, Ali.
I want to add another analysis. Is that the fact in the last days, it is true that in some areas the Islamic State is being defeated, and these videos shows also the other side. It shows on one hand the atrocities that might attract and seduce some of the recruitees to join the Islamic State, but it also reflects some kind of crisis that maybe for the first time the organization is living. It been cut from part of the region to the province of Raqqa in the borders with Iraq, and this is maybe the main strategic region of the Islamic State. This allows the organization to pass arms and fighters, and if the Kurds succeed to or at least continue to advance in this region, the situation of the Islamic State will be much more delicate, especially when we see that there is some turnover in the Saudi attitude to invest more in the Al-Nusra and what we consider as moderate jihadist organization.
Al-Nusra being affiliated supposedly with Al-Qaeda.
Absolutely, on behalf of the Islamic State. So on one hand, this shows that they continue their propaganda line to seduce and attract new recruitees, but this reflects also a kind of crisis that is an organization that is confident of itself doesn't show this kind of movies.
Doesn't show this kind of movies. I mean, I'm shocked, by the way, that we're living in a world where moderate is considered something affiliated with Al-Qaeda. But those would be the days. Just really quickly, though, Charlie, last one to you. I mean, we're looking at these advances. We're looking at these videos. Clearly, they're appealing to some recruits, overseas. But is the ideology selling on the ground? I mean, is there any information that we can glean online that the people that live in the areas that ISIS enters, other than all those horrific stories, that it's actually selling, that they're succeeding in some parts because people are buying the ideology on the ground in the Middle East?
Well, Islamic State is very good at winning hearts and minds, and that's something that we just have to accept. I mean, in light of the fact that Bashar al-Assad has killed over 200,000 people now, in Syria, a lot of people do view Islamic State as the lesser of two evils, and that's something that persistently in Western policy-making circles people are seeking to ignore because it's an unpalatable truth. It's a lot more difficult to deal with than tacitly accepting Bashar al-Assad's genocidal rule. Now, I do think that it's worth qualifying what this video does slightly. I don't think that this kind of video is the thing that attracts recruits from around the world. I think that Islamic State has a lot more propaganda, which really drives home the utopian aspect of the Islamic State, the caliphate.
Right.
Which is a lot more effective in attracting foreign fighters, or not even fighters, just foreigners to Iraq and Syria.
Sadly so, but as we said... I was
mentioning videos that are showing droning people and crucifying young kids because of not fasting.
Which we are not going to show on morning television. Hopefully, nobody else will show on mainstream TV. Charlie in London, thank you very much for joining us from the Quilliam Institute. Ali, always a pleasure as we move along. Moving to Vienna, but staying with the theme of the region and the fast-approaching June 30th deadline for a nuclear agreement between Iran and world powers. With just days to go, the participating nations' top diplomats will be convening in Switzerland over the weekend to lend their clout to the talks. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry recently said that negotiations will not be affected by the latest comments from Iran's supreme leader, who earlier this week appeared to backtrack on key points of an emerging deal. But Kerry is also facing tough challenges from home. Several prominent lawmakers have warned that if the deal signed with Tehran appears too weak, Congress will attempt to rescind it. And a law passed last month gives lawmakers the right to approve or disapprove of any final agreement. Of course, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a fierce opponent of the deal, warned against last-minute capitulations. At a military ceremony yesterday, Netanyahu repeated his position that no deal was better than a bad deal. We are going to take a look at the following report by Gabi Weinegers to take it from there as to the latest of this approaching deal.
A huge question mark hangs over the Iranian nuclear negotiations as they head towards a much-cited June 30th deadline. With the health of two lead negotiators previously uncertain and the occasional backtracking comment from the Islamic Republic, the initial high created by reaching a framework agreement back in April has quickly dissipated.
Unlike what the Americans are insisting, we will not accept long-term limitations of 10 or 12 years.
Nonetheless, leaders are pressing ahead with talks in Vienna on Friday, hoping to seal a final deal which would limit Tehran's nuclear program. Some experts say the deadline will be postponed in the hope of getting a better deal.
It's better to negotiate longer than perhaps the 30th of June. That would not be get the negotiating process in trouble, I think. But it's better than to have a good and a lasting agreement, finally.
France, in particular, has been standing strong against concessions to Iran, with Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius condemning recent statements by Iran's supreme leader.
A certain number of declarations have been made recently that, in my opinion, do not go in that direction. And therefore, France confirms its wish to find a strong agreement, but at the same time, its firm position.
Adding to the naysayers, 5 former members of US President Barack Obama's advisors on Iran have written an open letter expressing concern that an accord may fall short of meeting the administration's own standard of a good agreement.
The deadline itself, in their minds, is now working against the United States. That the longer that the economic pressure kept up on Iran, that the better the chances were that there would actually be concessions.
With disquiet being voiced on all sides, heavy pessimism clouds the arrival in Vienna of top negotiators Mohammad Javad Zarif and John Kerry. But despite the internal opposition, they appear determined to press on, even if that means delaying the deadline.
Joining me in studio, Tal Shalev, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent. Good morning to you. Of course, Ami Kaufman here as well. I just don't want to put you outside.
Good morning.
Tal, I read this morning an American source quote, saying, we're approaching a good deal. What do we know? Is this happening, June 30th, around the corner?
Well, June 30th is around the corner, and I think everyone already understands that June 30th is not going to be a big ceremony signing a deal. Right. It will probably be a few days later, but the administration is keen on getting this over with until the 9th of July when Congress comes back from recess, because if they do not get the deal until then the time that Congress has to review the deal will be doubled from 30 to 60 days. So this is basically the deadline. We still have a few more days after the 30th. But basically, we're starting a marathon round of negotiations, and we're seeing public posturing from both sides. We saw the Khamenei, the supreme leader, give a very, very combative speech, probably discouraging speech earlier this week, laying out the red lines of Iran. And on the other hand, this public letter yesterday from the large group of scholars from the Washington Institute is probably, you could see it as the red lines of the United States, and somewhere in the middle there will be a compromise and there will be a deal. The assumption is that there will be a deal because both sides, Tehran and Washington, have a huge political capital invested in it still.
That's it.
There are two constant sticking points that have not been solved. This is the monitoring and the inspections and the time frame for the sanctions. The P5+1 is trying to agree with Iran on a list of steps that it would take to resolve the IAEA questions about past possible military dimensions, but Iran has actually adopted a tougher stand on these issues and actually backtracked from some of the Lausanne commitments. So it's definitely going to be tricky, and it's going to be a very intensive week this weekend in Vienna.
And when it comes to the sticking point, I mean, and I'm not as well versed at this as you are, but when the United States, or should I say Kerry, has gestured that he doesn't want to deal with the past, he wants the move forward, which can be theorized, as saying, as moving away from that sticking point that you mentioned. But when Khamenei comes out and says that it's kind of the red line of the facilities that, we will not give access to all our military facilities. Again, I'm ad-libbing. That is something that the Western powers will never give up on.
That's true. Kerry actually has been trying to exert some damage control on those remarks last week regarding the possible military dimensions. And yesterday, administration officials leaked to Reuters that Kerry called Zarif twice in the past few days to clarify that this will be part of a deal, that possible past nuclear activity will be part of the deal. And this, of course, is after raising lots of eyebrows last week with the statements. But the U.S. is trying to prove that it's not climbing back from the previous demands that Iran come clean. It's definitely going to be tricky. Another tricky part is that actually a key Iranian negotiator will be missing from the talks. We're talking about Ali Akbar Salahi, who is the chief of the Atomic Energy Organization in Iran. This is another medical hurdle that we're having on these talks, and it could be a potential setback for negotiations because Salahi is considered very close to Khamenei, as considered essential to getting the supreme leader on board. So this could be a potential hurdle in talks. Definitely the intent, but also when you see the intensifying internal debate in the United States, which comes into example, which actually was just enhanced yesterday with the letter of the scholars. Definitely, it's going to be very, very dramatic days. We're going to see a lot of statements from both sides. I think one of the most important things to remember is that we're at the final days of negotiations, and a lot of the statements are just negotiation tactics.
Tactics, exactly. Or deflecting us in the media. Just bring it quickly, finally, now back to where we're sitting here, and that's Israel. So we're looking at a possible deal that's, according to all analysts and critics, not specifically the 30th, but most likely somewhere in July. Let's say there's a deal. I'm theorizing with you, okay? Netanyahu sees the deal, comes out, says this is a bad deal. What is Israel's next move?
Well, yesterday Netanyahu actually hinted that Israel may attack the Iranian nuclear facilities even after Tehran and world powers nail a deal. Israel is now pushing for another extension. If Israel could have its way, then it would have another extension and not a deal signed. This is what Netanyahu has been saying, and other officials have been saying. It's better to wait. It's better to work more to get a better deal. And this is part of what Israel will be doing in the upcoming days, pressuring world powers, there's also the dimension of maintaining unity amongst world powers. It's not only France and the U.S., it's also Russia and the U.S. Sure. Yesterday, there was a crucial phone call between President Putin and President Obama, the first one in 4 months in which they did discuss, amongst other things, the Iranian nuclear talks. But Israel will be pushing to extend the talks and not reach a deal. And after a deal will be reached, well, that will be the big question that nobody knows. We can predict that for Netanyahu, this will be a bad deal. In any case, the question is how much pressure will Israel be putting on the U.S. and how much will it be involved in the internal debate in the U.S., in the Congress actions and in the Congress review of the deal.
Tal, fabulous. Thank you for being with us. We're locking you in as we move along. Your turn. No.
Not ready.
Yeah, exactly. Ami Kaufman here joins us daily to discuss the news you've missed while scanning the headlines. And this is a day of news.
It's a day of news. Haaretz has a big scoop today, as we can see a picture of Bibi Netanyahu and Sheldon Adelson, the casino tycoon.
Yes.
Haaretz's headline, in English at least, is Adelson encouraged Netanyahu to streamline Israel's gas regulations. Listen to the very careful wording of the headline.
Thank you.
And streamline. Now, this is a very complicated issue. We're going to try to break it down. We can talk for hours about this.
With you. It's hugely
Israel
here,
found some very big gas fields a few years ago called Tamar and Leviathan. They were privatized. They do not belong to Israel anymore. Basically, the gas will be extracted by two companies, Noble Energy and an Israeli company, Delek, which is held by Yitzhak Tshuva. There's been a lot of debate throughout the years about how many royalties and how many taxes and the price of the gas that will come to Israel.
Right.
And Israelis are basically saying that Netanyahu has capitulated to this cartel. And recently, there's been a cabinet decision that has been has raised a lot of outrage. And there's actually going to be a demonstration tomorrow evening about this issue. And people are trying to understand why Netanyahu is basically capitulating to the gas tycoon. He's a guy who's really for free markets usually, and here he's just kind of like caving in. Well, Haaretz is basically saying, well, I mean, we might be getting an answer with this headline because
Haaretz is saying we're not sure, and I will say this because I think everybody's afraid of being sued by Adelson.
Right.
And the wording, I think the headline is so carefully phrased that it's hard to figure out, but it's the front page of one of the leading newspapers, so there we have it.
But if I could just
please chime in, because
some devil's advocate, the whole issue of the gas deal and the fact that it's such a big American company, Noble Energy, has made this it's not only a personal issue between Netanyahu and Adelson, if at all. It's a big issue in which the U.S. has been exerting a lot of pressure on Israel to give these royalties
John Kerry as well,
to give these royalties to Noble Energy. And actually, there was a cabinet decision yesterday, but there is a big political mess going on because the trade minister, the economy minister, Aryeh Deri, actually used the clause to bring this to the Israeli parliament. So it's going to this story is going to accompany us for the upcoming weeks. We should learn our gas.
God, what a phrase, but I will not say what comes up to mind. Yes.
Okay. We're off to Pakistan, where the heat wave death toll has reached 1,000 people. It's pretty, I mean, it's just amazing. Most of these people are the elderly and poor, and it is mostly happening in the provincial capital of Karachi.
1,000 people. That's
1,000
like a war.
people.
Yeah,
very interesting. And actually, the heat wave has kind of lessened, and the temperatures have dropped a little, but people are still dying in the hospitals. So it's over 1,000.
It was somewhere near 45 degrees Celsius, but I think it goes to show again that we can kill each other how much we want, but Mother Nature will always does it on our own, much better than anybody else. Yes.
Our next item is from the Daily Star, the war between the Saudi-led coalition and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. 3 Saudi soldiers and 1 Emirati soldier were killed on the Yemen border. And the reason I'm bringing this item is because I think it's kind of interesting. We're seeing a lot more moves of the Houthis of cross-border firing into Saudi Arabia. And this is kind of interesting because it wasn't really happening in the first few months of fighting. Now we're seeing it a lot more. So it looks like an interesting trend that we should be watching. And off to this item is from the Independent. There, Uber. Everywhere I hear about Uber, I mean, taxis, first of all, this is the thing that unites taxi drivers around the world. And it gets people a lot of anger, and I've heard a lot of bad stories about it. In Paris yesterday, taxi drivers blocked roads in Paris, burned tires, overturned cars. And one of the reasons it got really, really into the news cycle was because one of the people that was caught into the mess was singer Courtney Love. Courtney Love was caught.
That explains it all. Wait, this is all in Paris?
This is all in Paris. Now Courtney Love was caught in this. Courtney Love was in a cab, and she started tweeting what was happening. And she said, "They've ambushed our car and holding our driver hostage. They're beating the cars with metal bats. This is France. I'm safer in Baghdad." Okay. And she was she was so angry.
Not laughing.
She even tweeted directly.
Well, look at that. Uber protest march. This is actually that's gung ho.
She even tweeted directly to Francois Hollande and says, "Where are the F-wording police? Is it legal for your people to attack visitors?"
You need Courtney Love in any conflict in every demonstration in the world.
Listen to this. She told Francois Hollande, "Get your ass to the airport."
Yes. Okay. And
Obama. This is a video that went crazy yesterday. It actually happened the night before, but yesterday it just totally went viral. He was having an event for LGBT month, and we have a video of a heckler and how he dealt with it.
Oh yeah, I know it's been viral. Let's see it again.
Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, you know what? No. As a general rule, I am just fine with a few hecklers. But not when I'm up in the house. You know what I mean? Because, you know, my attitude is if you're eating the hors d'oeuvres, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And drinking the booze.
And drinking the booze.
And drinking the booze. And I got to tell you, that's my house rule as well.
Is it?
You know, if you're in my house.
You better be respectful.
You ate my food, man. I mean, come on. But first, we're beautiful. Not only that, and Tal, you'll agree with me on this one. There's something about him, I think, you're feeling the last year. There's something about it that's like, you know what?
Yeah, he's having fun.
You know
he's having fun. Like, I wouldn't say this the first year, but I've got like the clock's ticking.
You know what's beautiful? The friendship with Biden. That's like really heartwarming.
Real chums.
It's real.
It's really real. It's true.
You can't fake that, right?
Yeah.
And with what happened to Biden with Biden's son, you can see there's friendship.
But Obama had a good day yesterday with healthcare. So basically,
exactly, healthcare. Thank you for reminding us. Healthcare in the United States was passed. Yeah.
Supreme Court
ruled against it.
Okay, Washington Post has this story. It's called. This is crazy. It's coming out from a movie. It's one of those things that can only happen in America. A family wanted to move into their home in New Jersey that they just bought, but they couldn't because there's a stalker there, and we have a really great report about it. Do we have time to see it?
And we don't have time for it. Sadly, I'm going to watch a stalker chilling letters force fearful family from home. We'll do that next week.
Yeah, okay.
We'll do it next week, but face it. Ami, fabulous. Thank you so much. Do stay with us. When we get back, Glastonbury people, really, if you're young, stick around. I-24 News, first the news. I-24 News Morning Edition on this June 26th, TGIF. Yes? Girls? Yes?
Are we going to sing?
We're going to sing.
Okay.
We're going to sing, yeah. The amazing and lovely and unbelievable Chen Limon is here with us for anything and everything you needed to know about culture. Tal Shalev, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent as well. We're all gorgeous, we're hot. Some of us are young. Chen, take it away.
I'm turning 30 in a month.
Shut up. Shut up, I'll smack you.
Yeah, that's
I'll smack you. That's not here.
Studio.
It's right before you die. After 30, it's like, oh, there's life after that, so we're good.
This is the time when you say that 30 is actually really good, and when you turn 30, actually a lot of things open up for you.
And let me give this to you this way. The 30s are great. Listen to me. Yes. Okay.
Everything you want to know about culture. Chen's age. Okay, so Brian Williams, remember him?
Don't I ever. And not only that, huge controversy with, they're bringing him back.
They're bringing him back, but not back to nightly news. So he's
to where he started, to MSNBC.
Yes, exactly. So now there's a lot of criticism towards NBC. If he's not believable enough to do nightly news, is he good enough to do MSNBC?
MSNBC or breaking news, to make a long story short, Brian Williams, the anchor that was that lied.
Yes.
Lied. And what in that capacity, what is he going to do? He's like in charge of breaking news or something like that.
Right, he's in charge of breaking news. It's going to be a little bit embarrassing for him, especially if you add to that the interview that he had to give to Matt Lauer from the Today Show, NBC. So yeah, NBC, everything happened in NBC, and they're nailing the comeback interview. Yes.
What do you think?
In which Matt Lauer was trying to get him to say, "I lied," and it was hilarious. Brian was like, I see why people would say that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my intention. It came from a bad urge, from an ego-driven place. Now, should we remind people what he did?
Please.
He was talking about a helicopter that he was in that was attacked by missiles. Then people who were there in the battlefield in the Iraq War said he wasn't there in that helicopter, and then he apologized.
Let's have a listen.
Yes.
On this broadcast last week, in an effort to honor and thank a veteran who protected me and so many others after a ground fire incident in the desert during the Iraq War invasion, I made a mistake in recalling the events of 12 years ago. It did not take long to hear from some brave men and women in the air crews who were also in that desert. I want to apologize. I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire. I was instead in a following aircraft. We all landed after the ground fire incident and spent 2 harrowing nights in a sandstorm in the Iraq desert. This was a bungled attempt by me to thank one special veteran and, by extension, our brave military men and women, veterans everywhere, those who have served while I did not. I hope they know they have my greatest respect, and also now my apology.
He took the Patriot. He took the Patriot card. It's like, oh, brave people who snitched on me on social media.
It's misrepresented, and not only that. Later on, they also found out that there was no harrowing sandstorm, people. There was no sandstorm. That was another misrepresentation. But makes you wonder. It's so sad because a person in his position, who was good at at what he did. Why do you need to? Yeah. Okay.
Well, the thing is, I do want to ask you that. Maybe he was caught doing what everybody else in his field are doing as well.
It is true that I single-handedly caught Saddam Hussein. But that said, no, listen, war correspondents will go out there, they'll drink, they'll say stories. They don't do it on the air. Because it's also because some of, their co-workers, the other correspondents get killed, cameramen get killed. Soldiers get killed, so you don't do that.
Yeah, he could have told those lies years ago, but now with social media,
you can't do that anymore. You can't do that.
Expose you.
Will expose you. Yes.
So let's talk about music a little bit. Glastonbury Festival, the best festival in the world. 175,000 people are going to show up this weekend.
Like the Woodstock in Europe. Yeah.
Well, Woodstock, but with
British people.
But without the Woodstock.
With the Brits.
No, I mean, Brits are cooler, but still, it's no longer those days. However, when I see shows in Glastonbury, what's amazing is to really see the crowd. They're so into it. They're not shooting it with their phones. They're not with their iPhones all the time. They're holding all these crazy flags. They're wearing all these crazy costumes. So
you know why?
It's inspiring.
They're high. But we have a piece.
Yes.
So let's take a look at the following report.
Glastonbury Festival, the 5-day music festival that takes place near Somerset, England, has opened its gates to music fans for this year's grand bohemian event.
Welcome to Glastonbury and check out my amazing shimmery dress.
This year's performances expected to steal the show are Florence and the Machine, US rapper Kanye West, and rock legends The Who. Known mainly for its contemporary music, the festival also hosts dance, comedy, theater, circus, cabaret, and other arts. While the main stages do not open until Friday, many smaller venues put on live music, DJs, and films for those arriving early, hoping to pitch their tents in the best spot possible. Are you feeling the vibe? 'Cause I'm feeling the vibe. Tickets were sold to some 177,000 people who are expected to arrive over the weekend. Tickets costing £225 sold out in 26 minutes last October. During last year's event, with headliner singers including Metallica, the English National Ballet, Fatboy Slim, Lily Allen, and MIA, Performances were halted due to a lightning storm. Forecasters predict light showers this weekend, but a bit of rain will probably not scare off true fans of the arts.
So, yeah, it gets muddy there, but it's part of the fun. And who's performing this year?
Yeah, who is performing?
Florence and the Machine tonight. Kanye West. You like her? Kanye West, yeah. Kanye.
Things I don't know where else to live. Okay.
No, Kanye. Much more exciting than Florence and the Machine.
She and messing with the Gold Digger.
See,
exactly.
I don't know these.
And for dessert, we have The Who.
The Who, wow.
The Who, yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I've never been, and I'm also.
And you have to go. And no,
I'm
you have to.
always
It's
so
a good
jealous.
You want to be with British people, and because they have this respect for the music on stage.
Exactly.
They put down the phones, and it's not like you know.
Exactly. And also, there's an incline in live shows now with the digital age, where you can't really hear live music, live recordings. That's where you get your real music in a vivid feel. So that's why
we know the Robbie Williams,
and artists are enjoying it also.
Exactly, the Robbie Williams concert in Israel. The depressing thing about it was that people were not just with their cell phone, but with their backs to the performance, shooting themselves. Exactly. Then
the
what's
same
the point?
was with Rolling Stones. It was like Mick Jagger's here and you're looking at him through here, but you're not even looking at him. You're looking at yourself.
See, exactly. You get to these realizations when you reach 30. You got. Okay, it all comes together. It all comes together. One last one, real quick.
Bobby Christina Brown, Whitney Houston's daughter, who was found 5 months ago in the bathtub, unconscious, is now moved to a hospice. She was detached from the life support and from the life machine. So any day now she could die.
Oh God, it's such a tragic, this whole like a Greek tragedy.
Yeah, and of course there's a trial battle now because Bobby Brown wanted to keep her on life support, and also there's a civil lawsuit against her boyfriend claiming that he physically abused her before she was found unconscious. It's a terrible story, especially because her mom was found exactly that way. Yeah,
that way.
So 3 years ago.
Chen, thank you for depressing news.
Yeah, we finished on a sad note.
And on a sad note, it's time to move to Tal Shalev. Now for something completely different. Yes.
And I'm gonna lift up the spirits here in the studio.
A Whitney Houston song, but after your.
We'll finish.
We'll finish with the Whitney Houston song. Okay. Yes.
How will I know if he really loves me? I think I'm trembling.
I don't know the words.
Heartbeat.
Amen.
Love. Okay, let's go on. Okay.
Song.
Well, if we're talking about girl power,
Instagram politicians of the week. Take it away.
Girl power. We're gonna be strong on girl power today.
Yes.
The world's most powerful woman hosted the world's most famous woman in Berlin this week. We're talking about the Queen Elizabeth visit, a rare 4-day state visit of the royal couple, 89, Queen Elizabeth, and 94, Prince Philip. So we can see here the red carpet. This was all on Angela Merkel's Instagram account, preparing the red carpet, the final preparations for the Queen. You know that Merkel is sometimes nicknamed Europe's summit queen because of her pivotal role in forging EU compromises. So it's actually
she is
a queen meeting a queen. The Bild, the German Bild, greeted the queen with warm welcome, ma'am, on the first page. The couple stayed. Oh, this is for you, Cheni. The couple stayed at at Hotel Adlon, which is near Brandenburg Gate, which is where Michael Jackson dangled his baby from a balcony. They also, we can continue to watch the photos.
Historic moment.
This is on the way to the motorcade. They took a ride on a Bentley limousine through the city, which is actually a bit weird because Bentley was the iconic luxury British brand, was actually taken over by Germany's Volkswagen in 1998.
Maybe not weird, maybe intended.
Yeah, maybe intended. They also had a state dinner with Prime Minister David Cameron.
What did they eat? Do we know?
No, I don't have that one for you.
This guy doesn't like what he's eating.
Yeah, maybe, or
and the white. We have also a photo of the white gloves waiting for the Queen with the white gloves. This is all Angela Merkel's Instagram account. Very active in the past few weeks. We're very satisfied with that.
Very much so.
Just on the politics part of it, the Queen is supposed to stay out of politics, but Merkel definitely was probably lobbying her for the EU, trying to keep Britain in the EU. But that was that visit. But another First Lady,
yes,
great visit we had last week was, of course, Michelle, who did Europe. The First Lady, accompanied by daughters Malia and Sasha, and her mother Marianne Robinson, took a 6-day tour of England and Italy, promoting.
It's my favorite prince. I gotta tell you, I think Harry's so much.
Yeah,
cooler.
you know what she gave.
She
gave baby. She met Prince Harry. She didn't meet. The other prince, but she gave baby George a wooden wagon, and she gave baby Charlotte a handmade rocking chair and a wool blanket. Of course, most of the media attention.
Can sound more excited? Yes. Okay. And all the media attention
was attracted to what Michelle was wearing, and actually, it was interesting because as opposed to her previous visit to London, we can just scroll through the photos.
Yes.
She wore clothes from British designers, which was very nice. Here we can see with David Cameron and wife Samantha, and she also posted a video of, if we can see the video.
Yes, we have a video. Let's.
I'm in London talking with leaders in the UK about ways we can work together to improve access to education and empower girls around the world.
Okay, stop for a sec. I love that she wore British designers. Can we talk about the British designer dresses? Come on.
Yes, one of them was Thornton Brigazi, which is on sale online for $960 if you want.
Yes, I would put that on my table.
Yes.
Come on, that's tablecloth.
I really want a Michelle Obama dress.
I want a Michelle Obama dress, but not what it looks.
Sarcastic,
exactly. No, it looks a little bit like Venetian drapes.
Well, wait, later on, London was just the beginning of this trip. The second stop was, of course, Milan. Where she posted a very iconic photo with
Capital
fashion. Actually, Sasha and Malia did stroll Corso Como shopping.
Is she like? She's speaking, or
that's
she's having a fitting?
That's actually the second picture. Well, here she is. If we have the previous picture of her walk. Oh, this one. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So here she is with the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi watching, and their family. They're looking at the Last Supper. That's true. Then the next picture. She took a cooking class with children.
A cooking class with children?
Yes.
Okay.
The previous picture.
Yes, the one. This.
Yeah. Okay. She prepared a lentil and rice salad, and she gave a talk there about the importance of eating together as a family.
Sorry, so she says... Chen and I are having the same reaction. Okay.
Michelle says...
In Italy, they know how to eat.
But yeah, this is important for you because you're the only one in the studio that actually has a family.
Okay.
So we've preserved our family dinner time. No matter what the president is doing, between 6:30 and 7, he stops. We come up, we sit down, we have a meal. That's very important.
We do the same. Yeah.
That's actually wrong.
Definitely.
Like if something really bad happens, he'll still
I'm
go
sorry,
and eat dinner.
I know that the Russians just nuked us, but there's dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
But moving on, Michelle also, and this is actually, we're starting our next item, but Michelle, we also celebrated Father's Day.
We did.
So Michelle posted this throwback photo of Obama with Sasha and Malia.
Handsome.
Yes, yummy.
Actually, he spent Father's Day away from them. He was playing golf in California.
Really?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I would need like psychological treatment if my dad did that. Yeah. And because as he often did. Yeah.
Father's Day was, of course, a great opportunity for all the 2016 presidential candidates. So this was Clinton's first. She posted 2 photos. This was Clinton's first photo, but the second one was not exactly what you would expect. Her tweet was, "I wish my mother would have been with us longer." She's on Father's Day.
On Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Feminist
weird.
Hillary.
Yeah, sadly, all the time that we have.
Even just the Bush video. Bush video. 15 seconds.
We got 20 seconds, folks. Do stay with us because we have the best of the week coming up. It's food, Instagram, whatnot, and celebrating 500 shows of the morning edition with fabulous people like Tal Shalev and Chen Lieberman. So stay with us. You'll see it sing. Bye-bye.